Hey loves, it's Monty, and I want to say welcome to episode 2. I'm so glad to have you here. But first off, it's November. And with that, I hope that November is treating you well. I know that, the beginning of the year versus now is like a whole different you, a whole different situation. And if this year wasn't what you thought it would be, if it wasn't your best year, it's important to take the steps now to make 2026 very impactful for you. For me, I'm doing the 75 hard challenge. So it's for 75 days. You set intentions and goals for yourself. Me, I did mental, physical, putting time into my podcast and, spending time with people and myself. So solo dates and self care. Just things that I feel like I do on a regular, but it's kind of more routine for me and not every once in a while. So you do that for 75 days. And I thought this would be a great way to bring in 2026 because 2025 was definitely a roller coaster, but I'm very grateful for everything that has happened because it's made me the person I am today. But I know that I want to see a change, so that's just something that I'm doing to take those steps to make it better. If you have any questions about it, you can look it up on TikTok, or if you want to talk about it in the comment section on YouTube, we can talk about it under a post. For each episode on Instagram, I have a little flyer just to recap of what each episode was about. So if you have any questions, I'm more than happy to answer them. But it is kind of something I want to challenge you to do. Even if it's not 75 days, maybe it's 25 or it's 50, whatever you feel comfortable with. But I just think that was a great way to bring in 2026 and set the positive intentions of what you want your year to look like and just really being the change that you want to see within yourself because that's what I had to do. And I feel great about it. So, once again, I hope November is treating you well. I hope that you go into December, the last month of the year, with nothing but positive vibes and happiness. Just getting ready for 2026. So, with that, it's important to set your boundaries. And today's episode is the power of saying no. No. And this is personally something that I used to struggle with because I was not really a people pleaser. But it's just like, if I can help you, I will. If it's an ear, if it's time, if it's money, it's just like, whatever I can do, I'm going to help you. But I had to kind of bring that to myself and start putting that energy and time into myself because I really needed it and I was giving to others when my cup was low. So, in this episode, we're going to be talking about positive ways to say no. If you don't know how to say no, I'll give you some tips and tricks with no, setting boundaries, and just letting you know it's okay to say no. So I hope this episode is very impactful to you and you learn something. I'm also going to leave you with a quote and a reflection. So let's get into the episode. Okay. First, I want to talk about boundaries you're allowed to set with saying no. The first thing I want to touch on is saying no without feeling any guilt. I personally used to suffer from this because I would say no and feel like, oh, maybe I could have helped them, or maybe I did have the time, or maybe if I move a couple of things around, I could fit that into my schedule and help them. But it's truly best just to do what's best for you. Like, me personally, I'm gonna give you an example. On my off days, I don't really have too many. So I like to be lazy on certain days. And if it's a day that you're asking me to do something, I like to be lazy or I already have a schedule cut out, it's like I really can't help you because I had that time set for myself and my energy, especially if I feel like the last week was stressful. And I really just had to be okay with that because, like I said, I am the one who would like bend my back and bend the schedule to help the next person. But it's really peaceful and it really helped me a lot just to start saying no. And it was hard for me to start saying no in the first place because, like I said, if I can help you, I will. So I just had to get comfortable with saying no. And then over time, it just got a little bit easier with saying no. And it's not always just because I don't want to do something. I really just needed some time to myself to think and, make sure that I can help you. Because if I can't help you 100% or we are like you need me to, I'm going to feel bad too. Even if I am, like, doing what you asked me to do. But don't feel bad for saying no, especially if you know you're not feeling well, if you just don't have really have like the mental to deal with something right now. Like, it's okay to say no. People will understand. And with saying no, you don't have to give them a full explanation just to know I'm sorry, I can't, or just know if you just want to say flat out no. Like, it's okay. You don't always owe anybody an explanation. Also, with that though, take your time. If somebody asks you something like, "Oh, on next Tuesday, can you do da 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 da?" or just ask you for a favor or ask you for your time, your energy, you can say like, can you give me the rest of the day to get back with you and figure out an answer, or until tomorrow? Like, don't feel so pressured to like answering right on the spot. And sometimes I feel like that's what gets me. I answer or agree to things right on the spot, and then like by next week, I'm not feeling the same. I don't have the same energy because you're not going to be the same from like last week. So it's okay to take some time and think about a response. Don't feel pressured into agreeing to something that you're not 100% sure that you want to do. Also, with that, I want to say, it's okay to change your mind. Like I said, if you agreed to some plans or agreed to doing something a week ago, and like leading up to that week, you feel like, oh, I can't do it, or I won't be able to, or something came up, like let that person know, like I'm not able to do that anymore. You're able like to change your response and tell them like you're not available anymore. But don't wait until the last minute. Don't be one of those people, please. Please don't wait. Please don't be one of those people who wait until like the same day, morning of, and be like, "Oh, I can't do it no more." At least tell somebody the day before. See, I really suggest like a couple of days before, in case it's like something that's built around your availability or your schedule, just to give them enough time to find a replacement or do whatever needs to be done. But don't waste their time and yours and your energy. And if you're dragging your feet knowing that you really don't want to do something, you don't want to do it. So just go ahead and tell them no respectfully, or however you are comfortable speaking to whoever it is, whether it's friends, family, a relationship, school, I don't know. Speak your mind and be respectful and understand the other person's perspective. Also, just because you say no, that doesn't mean that you don't love that person or you're not willing to do anything for them. It's just certain situations, certain days, certain times you just don't want to deal with things, or you're just not comfortable, and that's okay. If you know you don't like giving out money to people, and that's a boundary you set with anybody, it's okay to say no and just go about your day. That don't mean that you don't love anyone or that person in particular. It's just that's not something that you're comfortable with. That's not anything that you used to do or you're not comfortable. So just no and leave you alone. And some people will think, that it's out of spite, or maybe you're acting funny, but deep down inside that it's just not something that you're comfortable with, and that's fine. Okay? There you can have boundaries to giving out your energy, your time, and your money. Like, it's okay to say no, whether it's showing up for an event, giving somebody a ride, letting them borrow some money until, a certain time, or participating in something that you really don't want to participate in. Like, it's okay to say no, especially if you're not comfortable with something or the environment. With the environment, though, whether it's giving a ride somewhere that you don't really like to go, or going out and being out past a certain time, or going to an event that you really don't care for but you want to go because somebody asks you for something or asks you to come, like, it's okay to say no. If you know you don't like basketball and somebody asks you to go to a basketball game, you can say no. Like, I don't know. I just feel like there was a random example just of like a no. Like, don't feel pressured to go because somebody else is like going by themselves, or whatever the case may be. Like, don't let guilt trip you into something that you really don't want to do. And that is something that I have done before. Like, I don't really want someone to be by themselves, so I'm just go ahead and go. Like, even though I don't really want to go, I'm gonna just go ahead and go. Like, it's okay just to say no, because maybe they can find somebody else to go with them. Like, don't feel pressured to sit in a space that you're not comfortable in. I don't know what it may be or how it may come about, but if you truly, in your spirit, in your soul, feel like, I just really don't want to be bothered, or I just really don't want to go there, it's okay to say no. It's okay to take that time to yourself and just be like, I'm not really comfortable with going there, or that's not really my scene, so I'm politely decline. So with those boundaries and everything that I just said, it's okay to say no. You can say no without feeling guilt. You can say no to a space or a certain energy. You can change your mind. If you agree to something in a respectable amount of time, with the other person know that you're not able to do it, or just not feeling up to it, or just be like, hey, I know I agreed to this, but I'm not able to do it anymore. As simple as that. And they will understand. Just give them enough amount of time to let them know. And also, if you know deep down you don't want to do something, don't feel pressured into doing something because of how it's asked or the timing of it. Take some time, think and breathe. Make a pros and cons list if you have to. I've done that before. If you have to make a pros and cons list, do whatever you need to do to make you feel like you're comfortable in your decision and you can let the other person know respectfully. I also want to talk about ways to say no. If you know you're not really somebody who says no when people ask you to do things, there are the different ways you could say no. So me, personally, depending on the situation, sometimes I say like, I would love to help you, but I'm just not able to. That's one way. Some people just file say nope. Not me, per se, but just a simple no is fine. It don't always require a full sentence or explanation. You could say I'm afraid I can't, or you could say that won't work for me. No way. I'll have to pass. Maybe another time. Because sometimes that's truly how I feel like maybe I might not want to do this today, but maybe another time, like maybe sometime next week we could do that. Like so that's a good one. That's one I kind of live by. And if you don't want to just say flat out no or nope, you can say no, thank you. I feel like that one was kind of like easy to put out there, but it's still sweet and it's polite. I'm like, no, thank you. It's not being rude or being sassy or anything like that. Or if it's an event or a situation, it's like, sorry, I can't help you right now. That one is, I feel like that one's neutral to really anything. And lastly, you could be like, my day is already full. If there's somebody asking you for your time or your energy or anything like that, you could just say like, my day is already full. Leave it at that. You don't really got to go into detail. Like, I have to go to the car wash. I have to go get the baby. I have to do this. I got to do that. I got to go to take so and so to school. I got to do this. Not like, no. You could just like, my day is already full. You could say I'm sorry or I won't be able to. Whatever it sounds right to you. But those were just a few things that I thought would help you like be able to say no if you're not sure how to say it in a respectful way or what the situation may be. But I hope that helps you. Saying no doesn't also mean like when somebody asks you for like a favor, it can be going against your boundaries. So say if you ask somebody for advice and you don't really like the advice they're giving you, or say if you didn't ask them for advice, you could be like, oh, sorry, I got it from here. Like, or maybe I just needed the ear and not an opinion. But you can also say, like, I appreciate you for giving me your advice, but I got this. No doesn't always have to come about when somebody's asking you for a favor or asking you to do something. Like, giving your ear and advice is also taking up your energy. So if somebody calls and asks you for your opinion and you're just not in the mood or you just don't really want to talk, you'd be like, not right now. Or maybe later. Okay, because even though that's not really like a yes or no situation, you're still available. Like, so if you don't want to be available, if you don't really just have the time, if somebody say like, oh, can I call you? Be like, not today, or maybe tomorrow, or I just don't really want to talk about that. Those are things that people just have to respect. And maybe you want to talk about it next week or the following day, but don't feel bad for saying no if you don't want to give your advice to somebody you feel like don't listen to your advice, or maybe they don't really take you serious. Whatever the case may be, don't keep giving your time and energy to somebody and you feel like it's just going in one ear and out the other. Okay, because at the end of the day, it's their life, it's their decisions, but it's your time and your energy. So with that boundary, it's okay to say no to being there, especially if you're not in like mental space to listen or give advice to anybody. They'll understand that. Also, with saying no, that doesn't make you a bad person. Just because you say no doesn't mean like you don't want to help somebody or you don't want to be there for them. It's just not what's good for your situation right now, whether it's financially, mentally, or physically. Once again, it's kind of tying back to the guilt of saying no. Even if you feel like you can muster up the strength to do whatever is asked for you or the time or the energy, if you truly can't do it, it's okay to say no. Like, saying yes to others or putting yourself last is just very draining. And it's all about protecting yourself and your energy at the end of the day. So never really feel forced or pressured to do something that you're not comfortable with or you truly just don't want to do. With saying no, it isn't always just like when people ask you for favors or your time and energy. Saying no to friendships, family relationships, school, whatever the case may be, is just important. You can simply say, I just don't want that for myself anymore. Whether it's like something you want to change long term or short term, never feel stuck in a situation that you can get yourself out in. Me personally, like I knew I didn't want to be like stuck per se, like around certain people, certain situations. So once I made that effort to make a change with you, and I feel like it's just not changing, I just say no to being in your space and you being in mine, or just coming around anymore, and just protecting your peace. Even when you're getting to know somebody, if they doing something that's like constantly throwing you off, or like you just feel like they're kind of more negative than positive, you can just say no to spending your time or being an extra ear, just being around, because that's not something you really want. And it's okay to outgrow people. Some people, like if somebody is just like not in the same energy that you want to be in, or they don't want the same things as you in life anymore, it's okay to say no to that. It's okay to end something that's toxic. Never feel like you have to over explain yourself, especially when something has been agreed upon or talked about. It's okay to say no and stand firm within your choices. You don't want to keep dealing with stuff that's going to stress you out or put you in the same type of situation over and over and over again. So just go ahead and set your boundaries with saying no. But I just wanted you to know it's more than just a relationship. It can be school, it can be life, it can be friends, it can be family. Whatever is not serving you, it's just best to let it go. So with saying no, it's okay to realize that everyone doesn't need access to you, right? So whether it's between a relationship, friends, family, everybody doesn't really need to know everything that's going on. So if people just asking you a lot of invasive questions, you can just say like, no, I don't feel comfortable answering that, or no, I just don't want to talk about that. Like, don't feel like you have to explain yourself or a situation when you know that you already talked about it, you handle it, it's figured out. Like, just a simple no and a go about your day. Everybody just doesn't need to know what's going on. You can say no by like not answering calls and not responding to texts. Like, I'm not saying straight up ignore somebody, but if you just don't have the mental capacity or the time to respond to people, it's okay to just take a step back, to get a breather, and just be like, I don't have the energy for this today. I'm gonna put myself first by, maybe journaling or talking to my therapist or going for a walk or hanging out with my family or my friends. Like, just gather your thoughts and your emotions. Don't feel like you have to speak on something, especially if you're not ready to speak on it or if you're not available. That is no, that is a boundary. So never feel bad for setting that boundary and believing in yourself and taking that space. I want to challenge you to saying no, or the saying no challenge, right? So with this, that would be saying no consistently for a week. Now, I would say no to, like, if people asking you for things, whatever you're not comfortable with. I'm not gonna tell you what to say no to, but I just challenge you to say no for a week and see where that gets you. See how you feel. See if you have more time for yourself, less time for yourself. If you're able to complete things, if you feel like more relaxed, a little more stressed, a little less stressed. How do you feel after a week of saying no to things that you just really don't want to do, right? And don't feel like it has to be something major, because a small no is still a no. Don't feel like if somebody not asking me to do something and it's like overbearing, or, it has to like physically require me to go somewhere or do something, then it doesn't count. Like, it counts. And even with that, just like daily no's. So by that I mean, like, if you just used to doing something and you're just like, no, I just don't want to do that anymore. Like, no, let's switch it up. Let's do something different. Like, just everyday little small things. Like, for me, my no's kind of consistent of like waking up every day and getting on my phone. And I'm not saying that I run straight to social media. I don't. It's just like when I wake up, I grab that phone. So I tell myself like, no, like, you're not doing that. Like, you gotta stop. And I actually see some improvement, because it's like it forced me to either like read my book when I wake up or go straight to making breakfast and just starting my day like either at 6 a.m. or 8 a.m. But with that, I do appreciate it, because I really didn't realize how much I went straight for my phone in the morning. It was just like, of course, a habit, I would say. So within your daily routine, just start saying no to old habits too. It doesn't have to be like favors or something that's being asked of you, right? Also, with no, let's talk about FOMO being left out. Now, that's a heavy hitter because that is something that low key used to bother me because if I wanted to go do something, I ain't want to be left out. Like everybody else having fun. I'm like, girl, I want to go have fun. What's up? What's the information? What's the tea? Like, what are we doing? But that doesn't always mean like I would go to stuff even though I didn't always want to. But I did have situations where it was like, if it was your birthday, right? Because I try to make it to everybody's birthday stuff, especially if you make it to mine. Like, I just had to realize like certain things I just don't want to deal with anymore. So I just had to say no. Like maybe if you do something else, I'll come to that. Like, just giving you like an alternate option because I still want to spend time with you, but I just don't want to be, in certain things like that's just not fun to me. Or it's like if it's not fun or if I don't want to do it, I just, say no. But with that though, it's important to realize you can let go of commitments that you made, or you can let go of identities that no longer fit you. So if you know you're not somebody who like used to do the things you used to do back in high school, it's okay to say no. If I don't know, you used to go to brunch every Sunday and you're not a brunch person, maybe you like to go do golf now on Sundays. I don't know. Just set that boundary like, hey, I don't do that anymore. It's not fun, but I'm welcoming you. You're more than welcome to do golf with me. Or, if you don't want to open that window, be like, hey, my Sundays are just for me. I don't really like to do that anymore. Like, that's okay because as you grow when you get older, you just don't want to, deal with certain things anymore. And I've noticed this like within college or friend groups, it's just like you just start to outgrow your old self and your old identity. And that just comes with time. Like, and it's okay to grow. It really is. And when you grow, environments change, people change, you change. So never feel bad for not wanting to do things that you used to enjoy in you. Like, it's okay. Some people still love it because it's different for them. They feel a different way towards it. But once you truly outgrow something, it's okay to say no and not feel comfortable in that space anymore. So never feel bad for putting yourself first. With the no's, it's also important to have like boundaries with digital no's. And I know that sounds crazy, but let me explain. With me, like I said, that phone, it was that phone. Our grandparents was right. It's them phones. But to a certain extent with me, I would feel like I just didn't want to see certain things or just didn't want to hear certain things. Like if it wasn't matching the person I'm becoming or who I'm trying to be, I just didn't want to see it. I just didn't want to be a part of it. And it's just me. It's nothing towards nobody else. But I feel like to be the change you want to see, you really have to start taking baby steps and doing what's best for you. So I did unfollow some people. I did like start putting like not interested in things that would pop up because I just didn't want to see it. And I would start following people who I felt like matched the energy of what I wanted to do or matched the vibe. And I just felt like that was my digital no, like, or even if somebody invite me to something or they send me something, if I'm not really comfortable with it, I'm just tell you no. Like, no, I just don't want to do that. Or just no, like, I'm okay. Maybe next time. Maybe if you do something else, let me know and I can be a part of that. And we can do that. And with the no's, it's also good to experience new things and try new things. Like, once you start saying no and letting go of old habits, it's important to branch out and try new things, try new hobbies, or, even make new friends, new situations. I don't know. But it's important not to just feel stuck. Once you say no, then you don't really have anything to do. But it is good to sit in your peace in your space because that's when you learn yourself. But don't just keep saying no and then not doing anything that's not helping you mentally or physically, or you're not being productive. You know what I'm saying? So with those digital no's, it's okay to unfollow people. It's okay to outgrow old habits, old patterns, old people, turning off notifications, declining meetings, invites, whatever helps you. Because I had to do those things to really just start changing my perspective on how I view life. I'm not really sure if there's any parents who watch my podcast as of now, but if you are, it's very important that when you say no, your kids are understanding like boundaries at a young age or really any age, but they just learn for you. Your kids kind of mimic you in a sense. So when they see you standing up for yourself or putting in boundaries and not really going for anything that anybody else is putting on you, that's important to them and their self-development. Because whether you know it or not, your kids really look up to you, and they just really mimic anything that you do, seriously. So if they see people taking advantage of you, this will go one of two ways. They can either turn into like you with having no boundaries, or they can be you and seeing that you're putting boundaries and you're not tolerating nothing from nobody else, but then you do have some kids who use that and be like, oh, you're not doing that to me, like, you know what I'm saying? But it's important that as parents, you kind of tell your kids, like, these are your boundaries. This is what you can be okay with, and if you're not okay with that, this is how you express it. This is why I know it's important. It doesn't always have to be so mean or rude. People don't have to think that you're coming from a space of like hurt or just not out of love. It's okay to put yourself first and decline invitations, meetings, spaces, whatever is not making you feel happy or making you feel comfortable. So as parents, it's really important to have those conversations, to sit down and tell them, like, if it doesn't serve you, if it doesn't feel right in your spirit, it's okay to say no. It's okay to say no without feeling any type of guilt. I wish it was kind of explained to me, because like I said, as a not really a people pleaser, but somebody who was just there all the time without really putting myself first. Once I sat back and thought about it, I was just like, oh, now that I recognize this pattern, I can change it, because I didn't realize it was a pattern at first, and it does take time to realize, and it is hard to break yourself from, but I promise you, it will be worth it. But that is all I have to say about no. Remember that. And I know I said this a lot through the video, but it's so important. No does not require a full on sentence. And I hope this episode was good for you. I know it's a little short, but I feel like I touched on everything I wanted to say. Don't do anything that doesn't serve you mentally, physically, emotionally. If it's a friendship, relationship, family, work, if it's not serving you, leave it alone. If you don't feel comfortable doing it, don't do it. If you don't have the time, don't do it. There are respectful ways you can go about saying no. You don't owe everybody an explanation. That's fine. Do what's best for you. But I also want to leave you with a quote and a reflection. The reflection is, what's the most impactful no you said? And the quote I want to leave you with is, when you say yes to others, make sure you aren't saying no to yourself. Like I said, it's important to put yourself first at the end of the day, because it's all about you. We all live different lives. We all have different stories, but you can't really be there for nobody else if you're not there for yourself. So it's important that the same energy that you give the next person, you give it to yourself, and you're filling your own cup. Okay? I am so glad that you guys stayed and watched this episode. Any questions, you can leave them in the comments, or you can DM me from my Instagram page, Beneath with Money. And like I said, I know this episode was short, but I feel like it was very needed. We can't talk about growth and self-development if you can't put up boundaries and say no and respect yourself before you try to help others or be there for others. So I am excited to have the next episode put out for y'all. And make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. And I'll see you soon. Another episode dropping this month. Okay, love you.